GameFi and Metaverse. What's next for users and builders?
Okay, so welcome guys. So why don't we start with, I guess, a round of introductions.
Hi guys, I'm Adrian from Lydian Labs, a pre-marketing agency. Does marketing throughout Southeast Asia.
Hello. I'm Ismael Jerusalem. You can call me Isma. I'm the CEO and founder of Only. So we've been developing technology for on-chain games. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Renz, CEO and co-founder of BreederDAO. So we call ourselves like the factory of the metaverse. Eventually, our goal is to have like a hand in every single asset, whether inspired by or produced through our platform, but any form of like digital assets created right within the.
Cool. All right. So GameFi and Metaverse. What's next for users and builders? GameFi and Metaverse, two big words, right? GameFi, later Metaverse things. I mean, two words that can mean multiple things to different people, right? With different POV. So to start with, like, what I'm curious with is like, in your opinion, I guess what the first thing I'd like to ask is like, why does one play game, and why do people engage in finance? Like, in your
Yeah, I think for the most part in Web3 gaming, even from Web2 gaming until now at this current stage in Web3 gaming, people essentially play games for fun, sense of belonging, a sense of community. It's just when the advent of crypto came along, right, and changed everything with Axie Infinity. I think that's one of the pioneer games that actually brought Web3 gaming to a new level. Players could now start playing and earning immense amount, like significant amounts of money as they play games. So I think that's one of the main motivators. But as Axie eventually became to the state it is today, I would say that the narrative has now moved towards more, it has to be play and earn, or make sure it's fun at its basis before anything else. Yeah.
So I think it's pretty a question that can be answered by anyone who is also being engaged with games. So technically, maybe the reason people play games is not just for fun but for escape, because people think they can spend more time being the other person they wanted to be by playing games. So it's like their form of escape from the reality, because they're being accomplished online by being one of the characters in the games they're playing. And maybe why people wants to be engaged on finance is simply because of money. Well, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you out to common causes of unhappiness. So maybe it's all because of money, and people want to have escape and money at the same time. So maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, I kind of echo like what Isma actually said. When it comes to like games, it's really a form of escapism. Not just in a sense that you want an out from, your usual ordinary life, but an opportunity to become someone else. Like typically, like people would want to try to become someone else, but that's not feasible, right? At least in the physical world. Like when you want to become like a ninja, right? You don't just suddenly acquire all the skill sets of becoming a ninja, but within the game, you can actually do so. You can do all sorts of things. I guess on top of that, right, you get the chance to become good at something. A lot of people play games because they want to become part of the leaderboards, right? They want to be the highest ranking member in a clan, where in fact, they're just an ordinary person in the real life, right? Could be doing like very ordinary things. But suddenly when you enter like a different world, when you enter like these games, then it becomes like a level playing field that everyone starts off like as like a novice, for example, and then becomes like guild masters or clan masters, right? And then you try to compete as other people. Then you become you actually can explore like the different sides of yourself. And for me, like that's the beauty of like gaming, right? It levels the playing field for everyone, and it allows you to explore yourself more in the process. Now, with regards to finance, I guess like that's really part of like life, right? Like we can't do away without like, ways to value certain things, certain assets, right? And it's a form of like monetary transaction, or transactional for everyone, right? If I give you this, will give you that. And it exists even engaged, right? It's part of like life in general. that we always expect that a certain item will have a specific value, and that certain value can be traded for another value.
Definitely. So gaming as an escape and entertainment that I can 100% relate with. Because I'm also a gamer. Like I like playing role playing games and different MMORPG. But as a means of escape and entertainment. But then again, right, when you put game and then the word finance in one word, finance on the other hand, when you do investing or trading in general, it's not escape. It's not something that you go in a mindset of like, okay, I just want to play around with this money. If I lose, I lose. It does not operate like that, right? For a normal trader or someone in the finance. So, do you think they actually go together? So, gaming and finance, with those core tenets in mind, like when you play and when you're engaging in financial instruments or in the very fact of immersing yourself in that world, do you think it actually goes together?
With regards to this, I'm actually a gamer myself as well, having spent I think well over 50,000 USD on MapleStory. The only issue is that Web2 games like that, when once you spend money, right, you don't actually get any tangible benefit from it. I can't sell my stuff, right? So when Web3 gaming came into play, I honestly believe like yes, they do go together in the sense that the game, it allows you to basically transact the items that you've earned. It basically gives you value for your time. Like, dude, if I play a game and I get a rare item, the only way for you to cash out the rare item in a regular game would be to do RMT, real money trading to someone else, do it behind the scenes, all shady and stuff like a drug deal. But if with Web3, with NFTs and all these things, essentially we can just trade all these assets to one another. Players can then monetize their time, and with the royalty, with all the royalties and stuff, the games actually get a source of income as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think gaming and finance can go hand in hand together. The the obvious reason is there is this thing called game economy, and for almost every game there is an in-game currency. It may be in form of any other currency that the game offers. So technically, what blockchain offers to the game economy and in-game currency, it allows users, players, and the game itself to cash out those in-game tokens, in-game currencies into real life, so that it can be used to real life scenarios like they have accomplished a certain task, accomplished a certain quest in the game, then they may be rewarded through tokens. Then those tokens can be converted into real cash. So that's how gaming and finance work together. That can only be possible because of the technology behind called blockchain. So yeah, I think it can really work hand in hand together.
Renz, any thoughts?
Yeah, okay. I think it's kind of the same for me. It's not mutually exclusive. And I guess like I want to relate it to gambling, right? What actually appeals for most people for gambling, at least so we thought, right, is that it actually allows you to earn money, right? But when you actually do all the research and all of that, you know that the house always wins. So in a sense, are people actually playing for money, or are they playing because they want to have like an escape, or like they want to immerse themselves, and it's addicting to actually have that sense of I can actually win this much, but I know that I'm not gonna win it anyway, right? So I think the only reason that gaming wouldn't work hand in hand with like finance is that it becomes the ultimate goal. And I see we've seen this with games like Axie Infinity, right? Where everyone was out there just to earn money and to actually, get an ROI for their initial investment. That kind of gaming and finance wouldn't work together. But I think like finance is very natural, as like, these guys already said, like within gaming because of the economic factor. And if I try to think about it, like there are, like even in Web2, right, there are people who actually pay to actually get paid, right? Grinders exist, people who actually farm accounts so that they may be able to trade it with some other person, especially in the form of like gacha, right, where you're given 100 pulls, for example, 3 pulls, for example, and then you only get it for like the first time or for first time users. People create unlimited accounts and then try and sell like the accounts that actually were lucky, right? So I think it's pretty common. It's not something that just existed right now, and I think we'll see more of it like in the future.
Yeah, so I can 100% relate to what Adrian said about, microtransactions and games. Like, I also spend a lot of money just by purchasing things from games. You don't make anything back. So on that sense, right? Also what Renz talked about boosting and grinding, those are all, purchases, boosting and grinding. Those are all, in a sense, right? Those are, I guess, commercial type of action, right? So there's an actual purchase going on, whether I paid for a product or I paid for a service to someone to grind and level my account. But I guess what the notion of people with GameFi is the finance part is mostly thinking about the investment, right? Like when I buy this token, it should, pump the match. Or if I buy NFTs, like things like that, people say, okay, when moon, when pump. So how do you guys feel about that in general? Because what you guys talked about, commercial things plus gaming, yes, I guess that makes 100% sense. But with with the point of view of investments, like how do you guys feel about that, Adrian? Sorry.
I think when it comes to investing in Web3 games, right? Yeah, everybody's definitely gonna have that mentality of when moon. But which brings me back to the point I made earlier that the game has to be fun to play because as much as we would like the asset to moon, more often than not, the asset will moon, everyone will hold, and then be like, yes, it's definitely gonna go higher, and then it's gonna go down afterwards, right? So the game itself being fun to play, I think is something extremely important, especially when it comes to this, because otherwise, having invested so much money, once it goes up, a lot of people don't cash out. Like 90% of people just gonna hold it to the depth. Then when it goes to the bottom, if the game is not even fun to play, you're just gonna forget it. I'm not gonna touch it anymore.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is like finance gamified. It's like people jump into it because they are looking more at the financial side that is being gamified. So that's why they can ask for other people to jump in also because it's really more on the financial side than it is. Yeah, it's just like adding a gamification factor for you to be able to like cover up the financial side with gaming. So it turns out to be an entertainment, but it's more like a financial side gamified. So maybe that if that's it depends on the interest of the players and the users that will jump into that specific platform or game or product. But the way I see it is mostly of those kind of mentioned kind of games that people jump in because they're looking at it as an investment side. It's like finance covered up by gamification. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's also pretty funny for me because I don't think that the value of blockchain, especially with gaming, has completely veered away from the original intent. Right? When he first created like blockchain, or at least when he first tried to apply like blockchain to gaming, the original intent was providing value back to the user in a manner of like being able to own your assets, in a manner that IPs are decentralized and that people are able to take advantage of their own IPs, or of the IPs that were surgically created and then make money. So that's why I guess people have this notion that, okay, if I invest in this, then I'm supposed to get my money in return, right? Because it's a way for them to support like these games that are on the early builds or not even just concepts, right? And then eventually share the profit. And seeing as how Genshin Impact, for example, gained like a lot of success, and if it actually rewards its users, then naturally, as an early investor, quote unquote, I would want to be able to get that promise of returns, right? But I guess with the bull market and everything, with everything getting blown out of proportion, right? People just buying into the token for the quote unquote promise of returns without really understanding that it is actually a game first, and a game needs to be produced before you start earning. That's where it got lost in conclusion, right? But I mean, ideally, or like in a perfect world where we just go into it and then just develop these games, and these early like believers and users who are actually part of the success of these games, well, they definitely deserve to get rewarded, right? And that's like the return investment that blockchain initially found.
Okay, cool. So, my next question is like, what would you consider right now as a successful example of I guess a metaverse or a metaverse game or technology that what do you think is yeah what sample like what at the top of your head like Adrian.
I think top of our head, the one that everyone is most familiar with is Sandbox, Decentraland, things like this. But I honestly think like the metaverse is not actually gonna be the metaverse until we can all play. Everyone's watched Ready Player One, right? Until we can all put on like Apple is coming up with Apple Vision. So one day, everyone, when you're able to put on that thing, the VR glasses for XR, and then can appear anywhere you want, do anything you want, and when items from multiple games can be transferred interoperably within that space, then I think that's when actually Metaverse will be. And I think that the closest companies to have done that would be Decentraland, Sandbox, being that players can now already go in there and experiment with voxels and stuff like that. And down the line, I definitely can see them including this experience of it being an augmented reality, extended reality kind of function to them as well.
Yeah. I think I'll have a very different perspective to answer a perfect example of a successful metaverse. Well, I do define metaverse that it isn't a place, it isn't a timeline. Metaverse is a concept because it has no any concrete definition online. If you search about the metaverse, there is no definition that defines what the metaverse is. There are lots of definitions you can find over the internet. So I do believe metaverse is a concept of our physical life and the digital life being immersed together. So simply by taking that definition, so this may be a philosophical answer, but it's just us using our phone. It's technically the concept of the metaverse. So that's one of the biggest perfect example of a successful application of the concept of the metaverse because us we're physically present while we're using our phones. So that's technically part of the concept of the metaverse. It's not a place that you have to log in and become another person and become digitalize yourself. So I think philosophically speaking, it's a concept of immersing our physical life to something digital.
So in that sense, Ismael, I think that's very interesting. So do you think us having a digital representation of ourselves in the metaverse, do you think I guess you can kind of say like maybe me having a Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media, which pretty much represents me and my data and everything. Do you think that's kind of qualifies as a metaverse?
Yeah, the concept of the metaverse, it applies the concept of the metaverse. It's not actually you. If you know the game Second Life, Sims, so it's not that advanced kind of metaverse concept, but it applies the definition, the fundamental definition of what a metaverse is.
Renz.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that as well. I think we're with the technological innovations that are happening right now. I think we can consider that we're already in an era of like a metaverse, just because like you spend most of your waking hours like not in the physical but in the digital, and much more so like during the pandemic, right? Where even meetings, for example, are done over Zoom. I know a few people who spends more time in social media than everywhere else, right? So you can even argue that you being in your social media is already like one application of being in the metaverse, right? And as we actually go towards the idea of like becoming a Ready Player One experience, then I guess that just only improves like our definition of a metaverse, which ultimately goes back to that idea of having more immersive experiences, at least in a digital space or in a virtual space.
Cool. So since we already touched up on, pretty much you can kind of argue that, okay, we're already in the metaverse because we have accounts in social media and much of our waking hour and attention. Probably me, I track my consumption of my phone on a daily basis, and I average like 48 hours. And just looking at my phone. So with that in mind, right? So I know, Adrian, you mentioned Sandbox and Decentraland. There's a lot of things, online that say, okay, they don't really have a lot of users and interacting with that. Um, what do you think then is like a component, like what makes uh, a metaverse tech or what makes a metaverse technology successful or valuable?
I think it's valuable like what Renz mentioned earlier. All meetings we have already done on Zoom. All the stuff that we do already done on Google Meets. So like what Ismael mentioned as well, everything is pretty much digitalized, and metaverse as a concept, it's just a representation of our physical lives in the digital world. Then we already in the metaverse, right? I think right now the most important thing, as mentioned in the previous panels as well, is everyone's attention, right? So the attention that we have is the most valuable thing right now, and that's what most companies are trying to get at. So I would say the ability to capture users' attention, that will be the one key factor that makes it something that works. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is that's another different perspective answer of how how the word metaverse be of value is like from what I've seen the past few years, what really makes the word metaverse brings more value to a certain company or entity is for PR. It's like if they added metaverse on their company, they thought their company will be more valuable and innovative. But then again, we realized that it isn't really the thing that will make their company innovative and advanced by just adding metaverse PR on their companies. And we've seen it. We saw company, I think I can put example Meta. They rebranded Facebook to Meta, and they have burned tons of millions of dollars because of that PR stat of being on the metaverse, quote unquote metaverse. And I think what makes it more valuable is the advancement of technology, creating more innovative applications of the metaverse, such as XR, extended reality, augmented reality, the applications of artificial intelligence, the real use cases of blockchain technology being applied to our digital life. I think that would really make more value to an entity.
Yeah, so for me, very similar to Adrian, it's attention and users. So I mean, like social media, games, everything else that revolves around us can only really function if they have users, right? And given that there's a lot of competition, everyone's like creating the same technology and everyone has access. Like for example, AI, right? The advancement of AI actually kind of levels the playing field on the side of like technological advancements, right? You have like a minimum level of standards already for everything and anything because of the advancements in technology. But what makes a good product good, right? It's because the users are actually saying that it's good. And without like people saying that their product is good, then even though, whatever technicality you have there, someone would just copy it and recreate it and make it more friendly. And then people would suddenly flock there. Then can you actually say that your product is better because it was the original one versus like the product that actually went mainstream, right? So it's really users at attention.
Yeah, cool. So, great insights. Like me, like the way I see it, like as we evolved as I guess as a society, like before, right? Back in the Stone Age, the most valuable thing was water. People had to walk miles or just live closer to water, and that uh, as time went by, right, it's easier for us to get whatever previous need was what the need was in that generation. So Stone Age, we need water, so people walk right now. I can go like this and have my water. So now with information and AI and data, now it's at my fingertips. I guess that you guys to touch upon attention and users. Now I guess it's really that the attention and our ability to get that quickly. And I guess maybe GameFi Metaverse is just a representation of visualization of that in the future. So thank you guys this for our great insights. Yeah.
Guys, thank you for a great panel. I have one question. Have you ever heard about live to earn?
Live to earn.
Live to earn.
Live.
Live.
That's amazing.
We're building these game mechanics. I'm absolutely agree with Ismael about that you need nothing to build your own metaverse. Just use your phone, and it's hard to get VR set to use it to get in the metaverse. So, but almost everyone have smartphone here, and you just need to live. You just need to do what you do every day, do your life, and just play game simulator, life simulator. So this is another layer of your life.
I would definitely want to see that.